when people see things, for comedy, structure is very important. And you can even tell a story, but that story has to have a good pace. It has to be interspersed with some good jokes in it, which it kind of does. And it has to be kind of tight. And I think for me, that's where the special kind of fell off. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why people say he wasn't telling jokes, because that was the last impression before it went off. Marcos and I saw the Dave Chappelle special called The Unstoppable. Now, that's just part of the title right there. I don't know if you know the whole title.
I don't know the whole title. I just hit play because Netflix is still aggressively advertising it. It's like one of the first things outside of the other topic that pops up when you open Netflix.
Yeah. Dave Chappelle pops up for a lot of people. People are still talking about this. Just in case you want to know, I mean, listen, people are still talking about this, so I guess it does live up to the title, the complete title, The Unstoppable. That's what it's called.
Is that what it is?
Notice I used the hard R right there.
Yeah.
And there's a reason why. He talks about it later in the special why it's called that. But apparently it's true. He ain't stopped him yet. He's popping. Still number one on Netflix. Still popping up on people's recommended queues. And it's also popping up because a lot of people are still split on Dave Chappelle. This is his most recent Netflix special. And one of the biggest complaints about Dave Chappelle has been that, all right, man, ever since you got some money, you do what people who have money shouldn't do, complain. You come out there just running your mouth, and the jokes are getting less, you just angry now. Ain't never seen a man make money so quick and be so angry about it, so just bitter. Yeah, if you that angry, give it to me. I'll be happy. I'll come on stage all smiles if I had his money. But a lot of people are going in and saying, yeah, I thought it was funny. I thought Dave, I don't know why y'all hating on him. Everybody has an agenda with Dave now. Everybody just, you don't like something he said, so you just can't let it go and just laugh with the man. And other people are saying, nah, that's still stuff to, criticize here. Besides some of the things about Dave himself, there's some controversial things like him going over to Saudi Arabia and doing a comedy show over there. Saudi Arabia has been known for not being very good on free speech.
I actually don't know what the consensus is on this special, like whether people love it or hate it kind of thing. Because I do know that he fell into a little bit of the Joe Rogan kind of ilk of well, that's just MAGA adjacent. But he does 20 minutes of Charlie Kirk material making fun of him. So I don't know where it kind of falls for a lot of people.
That's what's going on. A lot of people can't figure him out. And so I think people are coming in. So I'm going to tell you why I want to talk about this, and we'll watch this trade a little bit. But I want to talk about this because it's got to the point now, Dave has become so divisive with people because he just says what he wants to say now. This whole thing about, it's funny, he says, I'm going over to Saudi Arabia, and people criticize him for that because they killed a journalist. And, there's a lot of oppressiveness going on towards free speech and women.
Dismembered a journalist.
Jesus. Yeah. So he went over and did that. A lot of people criticize him for that. The transgender thing is still happening. Also, a lot of people are just saying, man, like I said, you're just complaining, man. Tell a joke. After all, you're still a comedian, right? If you want
sometimes.
If you want to complain, get a rocking chair, sit on the porch.
And people still show up for it.
Yeah, they will. Yeah. So how do I feel about this? How does this man feel about this? Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of this trailer for Dave Chappelle's latest Netflix special, The Unstoppable, and then we'll be back with our reviews, opinions about Dave himself right after this.
Sometimes you have to be a lion so you can be the lamb you really are. We got a lot to talk about.
That's it. I didn't know how to tell him before. I hadn't seen the trailer for this.
One of his funnier routines.
So what's going on with this is that, and I'm gonna get into it with you, Marcos. We'll talk about this a little bit. But so what's happening here? The reason why I'm talking about this and brought up is because it's been a week. And I kind of want to sideline it because I didn't want to say anything about Dave Chappelle because I've said a lot about Dave Chappelle. I didn't want to start repeating myself. But a lot of people online are talking about this. And I think, simply put, I think there's a lot of over-analysts going on, or over-analyzing with this special going on, because a lot of people is, the people complaining, talking about he didn't make any jokes. He's complaining. He's just coming out and just, and just talking and just kind of telling, babbling stories. And then other people are going in and they're just really, you don't understand what Dave is really trying to say about his free speech and Charlie Kirk and, and the trans people. And that's just like, man, look, I watched it and I really don't think it was that deep. And to be honest with you, I thought it was one of his better specials. I thought, look, you don't have to agree with everything that Dave says, but for people who say he didn't tell jokes, like I said, you act like went out there on stage and sat on a rocking chair and just became an old man and just start pointing at the skies. Shut up. I mean, listen, you can criticize. And there's some things I would criticize him for in this. Yeah. But he did tell jokes. He told, and I would tell you where I think people being thrown off. But he went out there and I thought he told, for at least most of it, I thought he told a lot of things that were funny. They had a nice setup. I'm not a person who goes out there and I don't know what y'all wanted. I don't know if y'all wanted to go out there and say knock knock who's there and all that kind of shit. I don't know what kind of jokes y'all wanted. I don't like straightforward set up, simple punchline, move on to the next thing. I like when people kind of set up with a little story and whatnot, and then have a good delivery and a good ending or a punchline to that setup. He does that. He does that here. And as I said, I don't think that he shouldn't be criticized. This whole thing about Saudi Arabia, because he tries to go in there and say, look, I went to Saudi Arabia because they allowed me to do, say things there that I can't say here. There's more freedom of speech there than there is here. And I'm like, okay, in the words of Dave Chappelle, stop lying.
Yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah. Go over there and tell a joke about Allah.
Yeah, exactly. You're a capitalist. You, and I'm not trying to point fingers and say these people are wrong or right. I'm just saying, stop lying. You, Aries Spears, all those that went over there to do comedy, you got paid. And that's all there is to it. And I ain't saying you're wrong or right for it. Go do what you got to do. I don't give a shit anymore. I really don't. But don't stop trying to have some kind of angle. Like, people saying, oh, well, Americans, they got dirty money. And I'm, so you did the hypocrisy. Y'all complain about me getting my money. It's like, just stop. All right. That doesn't mean that there might be some hypocrisy, but that doesn't mean that you got to go over there and get your money too.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that gives you that excuses this if you feel a certain way about it. Like I said, I don't care. Just stop being full of shit.
Also, that he could say things over there that he can't say here. He is maybe the one person in America who says, not can say, but says whatever he wants. And maybe there'll be some chatter online, but he doesn't get canceled. No, none of his gigs get canceled.
That's another thing. Stop saying I was canceled. You get paid top dollar. You brag about it. Mm-hmm. You brag about it. You make jokes about it. Hey, my house is better than yours. I was the most paid person who was on this tour in Saudi Arabia.
He has like a 10-minute joke, like series of jokes about how he owns the city that he lives in.
Yeah. So
that's
saying
relatable.
Stop saying you got canceled. You didn't get canceled.
All the people complain about getting canceled. They never got canceled. There's people online grumbling about them, but they're still doing whatever they do. They're not losing any money over it. If they got really canceled, it's because they did some shit.
Yeah. Also, he's still in the trans thing. I will say this. You don't have to like the joke. I actually think it's, that's what comedians do. They say things, they get split on it. Some people think it's ugly and they get offended. Some people okay with it. I'm not going to be one of these persons going to be a hypocrite. I laugh at some things that some other people say, and then look at this person and like, how dare you? All I'm saying is, my problem with him talking about that stuff before is that he was just complaining. He just got on stage and just started talking about these trans trying to cancel me. And I was like, no, they're not. You just saying some shit. First of all, you spouting misinformation. Mm-hmm. And then you're trying to say, one of my best friends is trans, so I can say what I want. I think you're full of shit for saying that. But
I didn't even know she had a child. I was like, well, how is she your best friend then?
Yeah, exactly. So I don't want to, But here at least he turned into a joke. I'm going to play it for you a little bit, but I'm not saying that you should like it or not. I'm just saying, instead of sitting up there and rambling and being mad, at least he told a joke.
I still didn't think I was going to get in trouble, but at the end of the case, this is the only word in the whole trial I understood. That nigga said, guilty. I said, what?
Now, he said he went to court because a trans person got killed at one of his shows. And so they took him to court.
Man, that is like not an interesting way to say that setup.
No, it is not. It is like, I don't know what. I don't know how to do it. Yeah,
he says he has a pet falcon, that he went to Saudi Arabia and he bought a pet falcon, and that falcon killed someone at a show. And that's the setup for this show.
Yeah, the falcon. I thought it was funny for the setup myself, because he said he brought out, in Saudi Arabia, they carry falcons around on the arm. And he said, man, he saw one guy, and he's like, man, let me bring that falcon to my show. And he said he brought the falcon to the show, and the falcon was just kind of there with a hood over his face.
Yeah.
And they do that so the falcon won't hunt.
Yeah.
And then but he doesn't know that. So he's like, I'm out here, I'm killing at the show, no pun intended. He's like, so I'm out here, I'm doing a great job. And I was like, well, shit, the falcon needs to see the show. So he took the blindfold off the falcon, and the falcon just went straight for somebody in the front row. And it ended up being, what do you know? Ended up being a trans person that he killed. His dick fell out and everything. I didn't know that. And so he went to court for murdering a trans person. And that was the setup for that. And here's the rest of the delivery.
I found out, lucky for me, killing a transgender in the Middle East, misdemeanor.
So, like I said, you don't have to like it, but at least he told a joke. I just appreciate that. I don't, and like I said, I know you don't find that funny.
It is a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke. Is it probably my thing where I do a joke like that? Probably not. But like I said, comedy, listen, I've seen people laugh at, child rape jokes, Catholic jokes like that. I've seen people laugh at, jokes at the expense of women. I've seen people laugh at black jokes, gay jokes, Jew jokes. So I'm not going to be this person who sits up there and says, well, you can't do that. At least he told a joke.
I mean, that joke, the punchline of that joke could be, this is how Saudi Arabia is. But he's talking about how great the place is. So that changes the nature of that joke.
That's why I said I wouldn't do it. Mm-hmm. I just don't. I think it's another double down.
Yeah.
I think it's another hey, I can say what I want to say, so I'm going to make this as shocking as I can. Mm-hmm. I would have said what you had said. I would have said, I want to this place. But, hey, he wants to get him the call from Saudi Arabia. So, so he wants to hang out with that hawk again or that falcon.
It was that whole setup was one of the few times where, because there is moments in that trans joke that are funny, but the setup was just kind of mean. It's like, I didn't know it was a trans person, but then the dude's dick fell out. I was like, okay, like that.
Okay. Dave told much. I don't want to get hung up on that, because he told much funnier jokes. He had much funny material, and he was even able to be topical with it. There are things, and like I said, some stuff you will agree with him and some you don't. You'd have to watch the special. I can't play all this stuff. You'd have to watch it in the beginning to see what he told. I'm trying to think. Do you remember something at the beginning that he said?
The joke about him buying the city and kind of thing, where it's just like, if I was white, they would call it gentrifying, but because I'm black, there's no word for it in the dictionary.
They got no name for that. Yeah, actually, that's
okay.
Actually, man, let me see if I can find some. Man, the stuff where he bought the city, it's hilarious. It really is.
Mm-hmm. I own so much property in this town, and it's true. These white people think I'm responsible for their well-being. I'm collecting the whole goddamn town.
It's a funny bit, man. It's he goes with some other places with this, like crazy places. Like he says, I took the firehouse in the town and changed it into a comedy club, and a club where bands can come to. He said he had Mick Jagger come over, and he does a whole thing with a bit with Mick Jagger. It's like, oh, there things that are like there. He's like, what, white girls with dirty feet? He's like, yeah. And of course, this whole setup delivery was a lot more, it's better and more complicated. But, so that kind of stuff was funny, man. I think where people are still split on this and saying, where it's not funny or it's funny, it depends on how offended you get from some of this material right here. It depends on, how much, how much you like stories versus jokes. I think where people find this not funny and say he's not telling jokes is near the end of the special. When I say the end of the special, he's got like about 30 more minutes to go.
Oh, he lectures the audience for about 20 minutes about Jack Johnson. and
okay.
it's going to work for you or it doesn't kind of thing. But I still remember on the overanalyzation part, people were like, oh, that means this about the struggle. It means this about that. And it's just kind of like, I didn't take any of those points away when I heard that lecture, honestly.
Yeah. Well, see, I think the problem is that where before his material was strong, even some of the stuff that might be offensive, at least it had structure to it. When you get to near the end, he's telling like this long story about Jack Johnson,
the boxer,
mm-hmm. And there's a whole history lesson behind it. Now I'm kind of split on this because I like when people put information out there. I think there's certain bits of history that people need to know, and I like when people of Dave Chappelle's fame, stature, can get that history out there.
Sure.
I won't tell the whole thing. It's just how Jack Johnson was a boxer and how him being a champion led to certain laws being created because they didn't want to see black people not only get ahead, but they also didn't want black people messing with white women because Jack Johnson
which he did that exclusively. Yes,
well, he loved white women. And back in the day, he'd tell your black ass, "No, I do not want you. Where the white women at?" And they created laws to prevent that. And plus, they just didn't want the image of a black man beating a white man.
Yeah,
and so he tells that.
Before Tommy Burns, the heavyweight champion, had retired, there's a man named Jim Jeffries. And everyone said Jack Johnson's not the real champion.
Now, you see how long he is? Now, I think this is where where people come in and they're saying like he's not telling jokes. He was telling jokes. And he was telling jokes at a good pace. Again, whether you found them funny or not. But for some reason, he starts giving his history lesson at the end, and it feels like, all right, now this is where the old man who just starts rambling. Y'all never have a substitute teacher at school who just starts.
Well, it's a comedy routine that became a TED Talk.
Yeah, he said, now that was the substitute teacher at your school. Yeah, didn't have nothing for y'all to do, and was just happy to be in front of an audience and just start talking.
Yeah.
You know, this is one of your old relatives that just brought you over to start telling you some shit you didn't ask about. It's good information, but it feels like he didn't really have this worked out. My whole thing is like, man, listen, you're at the end. You're working toward, because he said, this is my closer. This is a 30-minute closer.
Oh, dear.
Then he does a secondary closer after.
That's like a Baptist preacher.
Yeah.
I ain't going to be up here too much longer. No. 1 hour later.
Yeah.
You got the timing down exactly right. 1 hour for him to do half hour each. But I mean, I've kind of seen this before because when he dropped 3 specials in a row, that second one is nothing but filler.
Yeah.
I did not like the second one. And that's just, I think in general, that's kind of what turned me off stand-up comedy recently. Yeah. It's just kind of hacky a little.
Now, some people who watch the special, they some people like that. They say, I like a story. And, that's cool. This is just my opinion. I think if you're doing a comedy show and that's your closer, I actually admire the intelligence of somebody who can drop some history like this. And again, especially in the ignorant times we live in, the more information we could put out there, the better. I just think that it felt like it rambled a little bit for me. And I felt like it could have been structured more to where it had a better pace and could have been a combination of a story and with jokes and pepper it.
Yeah. You think there'd be jokes peppered in to keep it going and to justify why we're listening to this.
Yeah. And listen, I know that some people like that. And I'm not saying if you liked it, that's fine. I'm just thinking that, and yes, he did say, I'm doing a long closer. But man, even he was aware that was long. Because there's a point where he stops, he looks at people and he say, "You bored?" Y'all bored? And he's like, he looks at somebody like, "Hey, I'm almost done." And it was like, okay, so you are aware that this is kind of taking long. But again, that's me. Some people like that. Like I said, he's split on this. I'm kind of there where I don't think this thing is that hard to overanalyze. I think some things can be criticized. And I do think that closer, that shit. And the funny thing, Marco, is that he actually ended on a really funny line. He ended it with a callback to the Falcon.
Well, that's his thing. And I didn't know it until he dropped 3 specials in a row. His thing is to introduce a joke that's really funny and then tell an emotionally charged story. So you're so invested in the story, you're blindsided by the callback. And he's done that since the baby selling crack joke like in 03. Like that's his like
but he could
formula.
Yeah, he could have ended with that though. And then he you want to close it. You could look, that long story could have been actually we could have wrapped that up and been fine and been like, all right, long story forgiven. You had a good callback. But then he went on that second long story. I was like, man, we had a point where we could have ended. We had a point where we were done. I just think when people see things, for comedy, structure is very important. And you can even tell a story, but that story has to have a good pace. It has to be interspersed with some good jokes in there, which it kind of does. And it has to be kind of tight. And I think for me, that's where the special kind of fell off. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why people say he wasn't telling jokes, because that was the last impression before it went off.
Yeah, especially if it was an hour.
Yeah. And if he had put that story in the middle and shortened it, then no problem. Or if he had used that closing line, no problem. But for me, that's where my criticism comes in. But when the special was when he was hitting hard, he was hitting for me. And I think some of the jokes in there, like I said, some of them were not for me. I wouldn't have done them, but that's I'm not him. That's his special. I don't know.
It's the weird thing where when he's lax and not talking about things that are politically charged, and it's not even because you can't talk about politically charged stuff. It's just the Jack Johnson story versus him talking about being rich and owning half the city. That had a joke like every 3 to 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. The Jack Johnson thing is he doesn't have a joke for like 4 minutes into it. Like, it is legit a very long story.
It's a lecture.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, I really like that they put that in there. It's knowledge, it's history that we need to hear. But some of the best comedians, and he's been known to be one of the best comedians out there. But the best comedians know how to give information with laughs. Mm-hmm. You don't stop and just become the uncle nobody want to hear. But again, some people do want to hear that. So I don't know.
That would have sucked for me because I already know a lot about Jack Johnson. So I really would have been like, come on, brother, move this along.
In fact, you would have got up and said, listen, I can sum this up real quick.
You got some of this wrong.
I would give this probably a low matinee. If I was to rate this, I did like it. I just wish it was tighter. I don't think people need to go in and start analyzing every word that he says. It's very obvious. The man is a capitalist. He did what he did for money. He's still weird about trans people. He's not going to back down on what he's saying. But also, he can be, when he's funny. You see where he got to be. And also, at times, when you're trying to figure him out, if you summed it up for me, he's unapologetically capitalist, but also unapologetically black. So I don't know. People are complicated. What do you want me to say? I don't know. I'll let you have the last word on this, man.
I mean, it's a matinee for me too, but it did kind of ruin, because there was a lot of podcasting stories about, Dave Chappelle came in, man, and he held the audience for 2 hours afterwards. And that always sounded like it would be a good experience. Now seeing this, I'm like, man, I probably dodged a bullet.
Yeah. Somebody said this man can go on for he's done 6 hours. I'm like, how the? Now I can see how, but I'm like, who sat up there for 6 hours with this shit?
I get it, because he can perform for 2 hours and only tell 6 jokes within that time. Because a good chunk of it is him smoking and thinking and walking around and then laughing at his own jokes.
Yeah, I don't think it's that deep, but
I just have this weird opinion that at this point, where if you're funny, you're funnier on a podcast than you are at a stand-up routine most of the time. Yeah. And that just might be me being uneducated on who to watch on stand-up right now.
That's why when I do comedy, I do a podcast. When I go on stage, I'm like, I set all this shit up.
That's right.
Sit down comedy, y'all. Well, would you look at that? You made it to the end of the video. That means you really like us. So just go ahead and press that like button and subscribe while you're at it. And check out our other channels, our social media like Instagram, TikTok, and our Patreon, where we have new stuff coming up all the time. And we'll see you on the next video.